Good Saturday and welcome to Talks on Mental Health series. This series are brought to you by Mental Health Awareness Initiative. My name is Gabor Caribbean and I'm a co-founder of Mental Health Awareness Initiative, and I'll be your host for this very important event that we created for today in celebration of Mental Health Awareness Week. And joining me for this very special session is Natalia Maciel, who will be talking about mental health care on a daily basis, tips and strategies. And it's great to have you here with us. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Nice to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great, likewise. So this is first time we are hosting you, and I'm super excited about this session as the topic of mental health care is very important, and I find it further inspirational to have this conversation on this time, not another time, as we are celebrating mental health awareness everywhere in our planet. But before I move to our housekeeping items, and also to our actual talk, I want to give you a bit of a background on your presenter today. So Natalia is born and raised in Argentina. She is trained as a psychologist. She is a graduate member of the British Psychological Society and the committee member of the Psychotherapy Section at BPS. She has worked with adults and teenagers in public mental health community settings, such as Latin American Women's Rights Service. Additionally, Natalia is a volunteer and delegate to United Nations Women UK for the Commission on the Status of Women 2023. For years, Natalia specialized in working with Latin American community in London, migrants, refugees, asylum seekers, women, and people who have experienced trauma, sexual abuse, and domestic abuse. Now to our housekeeping items. So first thing to know is that you can submit your questions during our Facebook live streaming, which we will cover during our Q&A section. Feel free to comment on the event's Facebook page or DM us. And without further ado, I'm passing the floor to Natalia. So the floor is yours, Natalia.
Hello, thank you very much. Well, I guess always a good place to start is to talk about mental health, what it is, why it's important, what are we trying to do when we are trying to raise awareness, what are we trying to do here today. And the main thing for you to know is that your mental health is your biggest asset. Your health is the most basic and fundamental thing you have, because when you're not feeling well, you can't function. So if you're unwell, you cannot go to work, you're unable to focus, you're unable to have good relationships, communicate properly. So I guess that if we don't pay attention to our mental health, our life in general is at risk. So if we want to live a good life, we must prioritize our mental health. And mental health is not a luxury. It's not something that you should ask permission for. It's a human right. So you have the right to spend time, money, effort, energy in looking after your mental health. So I think that it's important to normalize this, because we see people putting a lot of time and effort in work, and you'll ask them, do you exercise? And people might say, I don't have the time. I have to go to work. I'm too busy. And you might ask, do you spend time thinking about the future or your goals? Again, I don't have the time. I'm too busy. So normalizing that we need to take space. Sometimes you might need to take time off, because if you don't plan ahead, how do you know where you're going? How do you know if you're happy? How do you know if you're achieving what you want to achieve? I can see that my camera is playing up a bit. I don't know if you can see me fine.
I think we all can hear you pretty well because the voice is not interrupting.
Okay.
Camera sometimes goes
Yeah,
up.
comes on and off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay, I guess.
I can always switch. I think it's my computer. I can always switch if it's annoying to my phone very quickly. So you let me know. So I guess that's the main thing for us to normalize mental health and not feel guilty when you want to take some time off, when you want to think about you, when you feel like you're pressurized to go to a party and you're actually not feeling like it. It's okay to say, I don't feel like it. Today I need to rest. Today I need to have a day off. I don't feel like talking to anybody. It's good for my mental health. That's okay. So that's one of the things that I hope people take from today, that it's okay to say no to things if it's good for your mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when it comes to physical health, we don't need to normalize a lot because we are prone to take the care of our physical health. But somehow when it comes to the mental health, it's really important to start from the basics and start from the normalization,
Mhm.
because sometimes we forget that it's part of our health and it's really, really important
Yeah.
aspect to be looked after.
Yes, and I guess it has to do with the way we've been brought up and culture and society. Nobody ever pay attention to it. It's something that we were not talked about at school. I mean, if your leg is hurting, you go to the doctor and everyone takes it very seriously. But when you're sad, people keep it to themselves. They feel ashamed. They feel like it's not important. They just push through it, and then things get worse. So it's important to value that when you're not feeling well emotionally is as important as when you're not feeling well physically. And there are things that you can do about it. There's people that you can talk to. There are practical things to do every day that can improve your mental health.
Absolutely. While we're talking about this normalization aspect of mental health care, I wonder what kind of recommendations or actions do you think um, people, general public, should take into consideration or at least start practicing in one way or another, which directly or indirectly might end up increasing our mental health care quality?
Yes. So there are little things that we can do every day. And maybe as I'm talking, people can start thinking about their lives as I'm mentioning different things. And maybe you can think, do I do that? Do I keep time to, have I ever practiced this? Have I ever tried that? Do I allow myself to do this and that? So little practical things that you can do. We can start with the physical things, which I think that are the most basic things, but are important. In clinical practice, you'll be surprised the amount of time that people would say that they are not sleeping enough, or they are not drinking enough, or they are not eating for, 10 hours. And then you're thinking, okay, that's going to affect your mental health. People don't associate that to the way they feel. And sometimes it can have an impact if you're not looking after the very basic things as sleeping at least 8 hours a day, eating a balanced diet, drinking enough water, being very careful with substances, the consumption of alcohol, the consumption of caffeine, Coke, Pepsi, coffee. All of these things will have an impact in the way you feel. I'm not saying that it's a solution when you're feeling sad, but if you're not sleeping enough or eating well, it can make things worse. So if you want to look after your mental health, pay attention to your diet. How are you drinking alcohol? How often? Are you drinking coffee? How much? 3 coffees a day, 4 coffees a day, then you feel anxious. Anxiety gets worse with caffeine. So be careful with all these things that can help you to stay awake, but they can also accelerate you a lot and make you feel a bit shaky. So basic things, drink plenty of water, eat at least 8 hours, careful with caffeinated drinks, If you can switch to decaf coffee, decaf Coke, and alcohol-free drinks, I'm sure that things can feel a bit more in control. I'm not saying that you cannot have a little treat here and there, but be mindful of those things as a prevention. And also be very careful with engaging in the consumption of things that can maybe create a dependency and end up in an addiction. So be very mindful of all of these things. People might start with, oh, I'm having just one drink a week, and then it's two, and then it's three, and then you realize when you're drinking every day. So pay attention to how much you drink, so you know when to stop. That's one thing that you can do physically. Physical activity. Physical activity is great for people who suffer depression and for people that suffer anxiety. So when you're depressed, you want to engage people in things that make them feel more active. So even if it's a 15 minutes walk, and with people that suffer anxiety, there's an excess of energy. So you want them to burn that energy. Again, physical exercise is great. Relaxation activities like breathing techniques, yoga, or even stretching at home can be very helpful for your mental health. Things that you can do with your body, practical things, very basic, but again, very useful. Looking after your hygiene. We know that it makes us feel good. Sometimes we feel a bit uncomfortable. We don't know what it is. You didn't have a shower. You didn't brush your teeth. You didn't have time to wear clean clothes. All of these things will add to the overall feeling about you. When you go out, when you're at work, you will feel better. And it goes sometimes in an unconscious level. But when we're taking care of ourselves, we are adding something to our mood that can create a positive feeling about ourselves. Yeah, I can carry on with more things. So this is a physical level.
Yeah,
we can do
I am just, to be honest, I'm just enjoying and like nothing all the time, like of like the information you were saying. I'm just enjoying that, and I can't say how much I agree. As a practitioner and as somebody working in a mental health awareness sphere, and so you know, like I want to, because some of our viewers might be mental health professionals, some might be students, but there's a big demographic that is people, just people, right? So I'm just wondering whether we can talk a bit more in terms of perhaps what specific actions we can start with. I would say that like something that it's talked about a lot, it's the mindfulness when it comes, right? We say mindfulness is really important. Awareness is very important. And yes, it is absolutely important. But I'm wondering whether you would like to explore today, like how to get to the point of mindfulness or to the point of awareness.
Yes, practical things. I guess that is more about allowing yourself the time to do these things. So I think it's a great practice if you wake up in the morning and instead of rushing, to brush your teeth, drink a coffee and just rush out, you just sat for a little bit in your kitchen and actually feel your body. How am I feeling today? So that's mindfulness, being aware of you in the world, what's happening in your head, what's happening in your body. How am I feeling? Do I feel a bit agitated? Do I feel any tension? Because when you're aware, that gives you the possibility of doing something about it. How can we change if we are not aware? So then if you feel a bit of tension, you can relax a little bit. If you feel tired, you can think, okay, maybe today I'll take it easy. If you feel a bit sleepy and you have to drive, you think, okay, I have to be careful. I'm driving now. I have to wake up, or maybe I walk. So it gives you the chance to make a change and adapt when you're aware of your situation. That's why awareness is so important. And in mental health, even more. If you feel like you're irritable, for example, in the morning, or last night I had an argument with someone, so I feel a bit edgy. You know that. So when you go to work, you know that you might be more sensitive to what people say or to noises. You want to know how you feel in order to adapt to different situations and be more in control. So that's what it is really. And it's something that, I mean, ideally you want to be aware of who you are and what you're doing all the time or how you feel. Sometimes we're busy, but if you do it at least 2-3 times a day, in the morning, maybe at lunchtime, how am I feeling? How is the day going? And before you sleep, before you go to sleep, how was my day? How am I feeling today? Those moments of, I guess I would describe them as being you with you, but really being you with you and checking in. How am I feeling in my heart, in my soul, in my mind, in my body? That's awareness, and that is mindfulness as well. You can add the breathing techniques, which are different for different situations. So if you want to sleep, you would breathe in a particular pattern, and if you are stressed, you will breathe in a different pattern. Things that you can Google online. But I guess just inhale and exhale. That's the most basic thing to do. But do we do it really? Do we allow ourselves to do it? We're always so busy rushing from one place to another that we don't really sit down and actually just sit down and breathe. Like really use all my lungs to collect all the air I can and to expel all the air I have and to really be in that moment. So it's just that, as simple as that, but very effective, very effective.
I like the part about breathing, and whether we do it or not, we absolutely do it from one perspective, right? Like on an autopilot, we do it like we're breathing in order to leave, but do we take actually a moment to inhale? Do we take that moment and just try to enjoy the freshness, the warmth, the cold of the air? Or we're just like, let's do it and then be done with this and move forward.
Yeah.
I guess this is something important to understand, because perhaps something that in a world when there's so much information and in a world which is that much influenced by social media, even this is like this, we are streaming this talk right now to social media, right? Because it became a permanent part of our life. But then it's also really easy to fall into the trap of the positivity and perfect life.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then do things because it is right to do.
Mm-hmm.
Never question whether it is right or suitable for you. What would you say? What are some of the things or actions or like self-checking mechanisms that somebody could, do or practice on a daily basis that would help them to understand better how they feel about themselves, how they feel at the moment, and just maybe help them to increase their mental health or learn how to take care of it in a better ways?
Absolutely. And I think that we are so used to, we go about in life, how are you? Fine. How are you? Fine. We don't even think about it. We just reply. Autopilot, it just comes out. I guess that's what we do in therapy, right? How are you? Like, how are you really feeling? And then clients really sit and think, well, actually, I'm not too sure. And they take the time to really explore, really and truly, how am I feeling? And it can be scary. And I guess that's the reason why a lot of people avoid it. But if you really want to live a good life, a happy life, a real life, it's not always happy, but a fuller life, you want to be in touch with your feelings. And once you're in touch with your feelings, then you have the freedom to make a choice. What do I want to do with these feelings? So it's not just being angry and acting out, but I'm feeling angry. So what do I want to do with this? Do I want to breathe? Do I want to maybe put some music on and try to kind of relax? Or am I going to go outside and punch someone? You know what I mean? But the awareness can help you prevent maybe things that you might regret in the future.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
here. It's just
right.
my camera, but I'm here.
I know you are. I can hear you. I think I can hear you. People can hear you. And that's the most important thing. But the camera is back too.
Yeah.
So I like listening you talking about tips and strategies, I can't help myself but to ask. I mean, I know that you are relationship psychologist, relationship counselor. So you work a lot with people with in the context of relationships, in the context of family. And we always say family is important, and there's these words, very basic words, but like there's a lot of culture and peculiarities. So I'm wondering, how can we utilize and in a good way weaponize this resource, tapping this resource of family and relationships, actually, not just family, but friends, loved ones, uh, in order to increase the quality of like our lives, but also like the quality of our mental health care.
Yes, I love relationships. I think that now in this capitalistic, individualistic world, relationships are kind of left to a side. A lot of people spend a lot of time with technology, with social media, busy working, trying to make money. And we forget that there's people around us, our family, our friends. We are social beings, humans. We weren't designed to be alone and do things alone. We thrive in communities. We thrive in relationships. We need someone to lean on, to feel secure emotionally, to have people around us when we're struggling. Helping is one of the most amazing things, not just for the person that is helped, but also by the person that is helping. So when somebody helps, everybody benefits from that help. So I always say this to people: when you feel lonely, when you feel like your life is worthless, go and help somebody else. I don't think there's anything else that can give more meaning to someone's life, to be able to help somebody. It can be with something little, even if you go to your neighbor and say, "Are you okay? Do you want me to go and do some shopping for you?" Little actions like that can give a great sense of purpose and meaning to your life. And with family, well, I will always say, try to stay in touch. I know that it's not always possible. Families are different, dynamics, relationships, but I think that it's good to always feed those relationships when it's possible, when things are okay. Make time, make space to call your family member, to call your friends, to stay in touch with those friends from uni, from school, from secondary school, check in with them. Also, when we grow up, all these people that were at different parts of our lives, in a way, are part of our lives. So being in touch with other people can remind you who you are, especially if you're a migrant or if you, migrants mainly. But I think that, every time you meet someone from your past can give you an insight of who you are, who you were, where you're going. It's always good to have those conversations. And with people that really knew you and people that you know. So tip, stay in touch. And do real meetings, again, mindful meetings, not just superficial, WhatsApp, how are you, fine, good. Try to engage in real interactions in person if possible, going for a coffee, going for a walk, and being honest and transparent about how you feel. Those are really mindful relationships, not superficial ones. Yeah.
You just mentioned real interactions, and I understand what you're talking about, but I'm wondering if somebody listening is not exposed to mental health literature, let's say, might understand the term. So do you mind like explaining that a bit, and maybe, like also providing some tips as a specialist, how somebody can check in with themselves to see whether the relationships or something that they're doing is real for them or not?
Yes, I think that one important thing is that we can have real interactions and real connections, even with random people on the street. It doesn't have to be always a friend and a family member. I don't know if you experience that. Sometimes you go on a train in a long journey or even on a plane. I had experiences on, flights to Argentina, 12 hours. You can have very long conversations. There's no Wi-Fi. And I had the most amazing conversations with people that I never met before, that I will never meet again, but that we were honest. I had one woman crying, I remember once, being fully honest and authentic. This is how I'm feeling, this is who I am. And you have that connection, that humanity. I think that a real interaction is when you can truly show who you are, how you feel. You're not pretending, you're not faking, and you're really listening to the other person, and you really care. So that's a real interaction. It's not just that we're going out, we take a photo, bye, see you, see you again. So that's what I mean with real, that you're actually there, and you actually care, and you're actually showing your true self. It sounds easy, but it's not. I guess that therapy helps. Having time with yourself to know who you are helps. But yeah, that's the kind of things that are really fulfilling, I think. When you can truly show who you are, when you can truly listen to the other person, being engaged with the material that the other person is bringing. Not trying to fix the other person, not trying to solve their problems, just being there. That's a real connection and a real interaction. Respecting the other person. Yeah.
There is one thing that you mentioned, actually two. You talked at some point in terms of relationships, right? Some peculiarities when it comes to migrants. And well, we started this part with more or less talking about the family, right? And obviously, some people are very lucky and they have amazing families, whatever the definition of amazing is for that person. But sometimes, quite often, in most of the cases, it's not easy to deal with the families, to open up or maybe to ask for help or support. I wonder, what are some of the tips or, again, actions that somebody can take if they need a support of their family, of these resorts, in order, to move forward, to heal from something, or just to prosper?
I guess that, as I said, I love relationships and I want them to thrive and work, but it's not always possible. And I think that we have to accept that with some people, we might have some limits. It might happen from generation to generation. Some people are more old-fashioned, and if you come sometimes with something a bit modern, they might look at you, like, what are you saying? That's not allowed. You shouldn't be doing this. These kinds of problems you see very often from one generation to another, parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren, because society is changing. So we have different values, different lifestyles. And I think it's important to understand that there will be relationships that might not work. So what do? We try and sit down and think, what can I take from this relationship? Sometimes the only thing that you can do with your dad is watch football and talk about what's happening in the match. And that might be all you can get from that relationship, which can be painful sometimes. But I think that sometimes forcing things or expecting something that will never come can be quite painful for people. So we try to, I guess, you want to rescue what is there and make the most of what is there for you in the relationship, not trying to force things that don't work, and see if you can get that from somebody else. Sometimes might be another family member. You might not have that with your dad, but maybe you have an uncle that can give you good advice, or a cousin, or your mom. So check your relationships and accept them by why they are. Another thing is limits. I think that with family members, it's important to set boundaries as well. You might love your mom, but she might be, let's say, irritable and sometimes have a bad temper. So you say, okay, I can see my mom, but not every day maybe. So I know that this is my limit. I can go visit her, have lunch, but I know that after that I need to come back because usually there's an argument or she might comment something. So I guess that not trying to push relationships and always have boundaries. Know exactly what you can do with certain people. With this person, maybe I can't talk about this. With this person, I can only do that. Again, awareness of where you are, the level of relationship that you have. This person is unconditional, fine, you know that. This person maybe not. Being aware of your relationship is crucial for your mental health, because I know that we need support, but I don't want to lie to people and say, yeah, go and ask for help and you'll have it, because it's not always the case. So we need to know where the help is, the people that we trust. And if you want one or two people in your life, I think that's enough. And I think that it can be deceiving to say, just go and talk, because you go and expose yourself and then the other person might judge you, might tell what you just said to a lot of people. So you might be at risk. So you might as well check in first. Can I trust in this person? What do I know about this person? How was this person with me in the past? And if you feel safe, then you can ask for support, and I'm sure they'll be there. But if you're not sure, maybe you want to go with someone that gives you that safety and that confidence that things will be okay. So I guess that if you cannot find the help with a family member, you might think about other people. Maybe someone at uni, maybe someone at work, maybe a friend, maybe a neighbor, or a mental health professional. So that's what we do, right? When people cannot find support sometimes, or the support, specific support they need, they can reach out and ask for professional help. And it doesn't have to be, I think that a lot of people are scared of therapy, of the commitment and the length, but you can always go and have maybe a one session, sometimes one or two encounters can give you a feel of what therapy is, can offer some sort of relief or guidance. So there's no need to always engage in therapy. You can have a one or two sessions for emotional support. And for some people, that's more than enough. You can also call a helpline. There are a lot of helplines. I don't know in Armenia, but here in the UK, you have Samaritans that are for free. Even for teenagers, there are websites where you can chat if you feel more comfortable chatting to someone rather than talking. That's another option. So I guess that saying just ask for help and you'll get it is not always the case. Just check if the help is there first, and then you ask for it.
Absolutely. I think that asking for help or knowing how to do that, it's such a primitive and basic thing, but also something that is so difficult to do.
Mm-hmm.
But as I think, I hope you would agree that there's no shame in asking for a support.
Of course, of course. As I said, we are social beings. It's the most normal thing to do, to lean in another people, to ask for help, to ask for support, to want to talk about things. We humans are the animal that needs support the most, if you see, compared to other animals. 1 year next to the mom and then they're off. We need our family up until we are 18 or 25. we need people around us, mom, dad, someone to guide us along the way. So there should never be any shame or any feelings of weakness or I can't cope or I'm not enough, because that's really not, it's not true. I think that is an amazing sign of strength when I see people saying, actually, I might need to talk to someone. It shows that you know that you have resources, you know how to ask for help, and it shows strength, actually, by the opposite.
Yeah, and talking of being a social creature, social being, I wonder what is the role of community in all of these. What is the role of community that we belong to, choose to belong to, live in taking care of our mental health, and how it comes into play in our daily life?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, I keep freezing. I'm so sorry about that, but I'm here. I'm here. I don't know what's happening. Well, as I said, we are social beings. We want to be part of a bigger thing, not just being alone in the world. I think that we all want to be part of something. It gives you meaning, it gives you purpose, it gives you this feeling, beautiful feeling of belonging. You know, when you're part of a group, when you have a group of friends, if you go and play football, if you go and play, chess, the violin, being part of something is fundamental. And there's plenty of research that shows that it can help people with their mental health. It's a protective factor, we call it, when people have groups, when they have groups where they belong. It can tell you a lot about someone. Okay, this person has support. So I guess that if you don't have that, you can ask yourself, what would I like to do? What sort of things am I into? What moves me? What is my passion? And that's one of the things that I do. Here in London, when I moved, I felt very lonely. Didn't know anybody, no family. I come from a community, Latin Americans were very family oriented and all that. So being part of a charity that are, Latin American women, helping Latin American women, it has given me this sense of purpose. It's incredible. And I not only help people, but also gain friendships for life. And it made me feel that there's something else outside of me. I think that sense of there's more to life, not just me in the world. That what community is really, having that awareness that it's not just us and our belly button. There's so much more out there that we can do, that we can offer. And also, once you are able to give that, you're also able to receive it. So there's no shame in receiving because you're giving. It's a give and take. So as much as I love people coming and asking me for support, I'm also very good at asking for support. So as I said, there's no shame. There's a sign of strength, because what you're saying when you're asking for help is, I believe in humanity. I believe that the other person can help me, that wants to help me, that has the power to help me. And if I believe that the other person can do it, I believe that I can do it.
More than 100%. Especially, and I want to emphasize the fact that we're talking about like how to take care of our mental health on a daily basis. And I don't know, obviously, what kind of expectations our viewers had prior to this talk, right? Approximately like 40 minutes ago. But I think it's important to take notes, at least some of the ones that were really, really prominent for me was when you just literally mentioned that how important it is to give, and that the role it plays in just giving can already be healing, but also giving accommodates healing. At least this is how I hear. Because at the end of the day, we all need connection. We all want to feel belonging. And there's no need to sit and wait for somebody to come and help you, for social services to come and help you, for, I don't know, the community group to come and help you, to church come and help you, or whatever part of the group you're in. You can actually go there and suggest your help. And then there's a high chance that there are going to be people that will start taking care of you and offer support.
Absolutely. Not being scared of taking space. I think that people are scared of asking for help, thinking, oh, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to put this burden on you. But the reality is that most people will help you. Most people would. Even I'm sure that people that are listening, if I ask you, if someone comes and asks you for help, your gut will tell you, yes, that's the first thing most people would do, right? We want to help. We want to be part of something. We want to feel like we are contributing. We want to feel like we are good people. So I think that it's important to trust in that, to give, to receive. And yeah, relationships are everything, as I said. I cannot think about good mental health without relationships. We're social beings. So relationships are needed at some level, at least one person that you have in your life that you can trust, that you can talk to, is necessary.
Thank you, Natalia. So before we actually open up the Q&A, I want to give you like 1 or 2 minutes just to say whatever you want to say, like with this final statements, and then we would move forward to our Q&A sections because we already got interesting questions.
Sure. Well, as I said, as a round everything up, mental health is not a luxury, it's a human right. Pay attention to your physical health because that influences your mental health. It's a dialectic relationship. What happens in the body affects the mind, what happens in the mind affects the body. So they're constantly talking to each other. Pay attention to what happens in your body. Pay attention to your relationship, the quality of your relationship, how authentic you are. Are you real? Pay attention to technology. Technology is great, but make sure you have these real interactions with people. Time off is good for your mental health. Check in with yourself. Do activities, physical activities, relaxation, yoga, walking. Pay attention to your environment. Is it clean? Is it tidy? Green spaces, going out for a walk in nature. Again, we are not designed to be in buildings. We live in buildings because, yes, but this is not our nature. Our nature thrives with more nature. So with pets, with plants, pay attention to all those little things. And if you add all of these things together, at the end of the day, there's going to be a good outcome. You are invested in your health. With every little single act you do every day, it's like you're putting coins in a money box for your mental health. And then when you need it, it'll be there because you're creating a buffer. So when stress comes, when difficulties comes, you're strong enough. You have a good body, you're eating well, you're sleeping well, you have friends, you have your fresh air, you're organized, you know what you want in life, you're checking with yourself, you're authentic, you'll do great, hopefully.
Thank you for the talk. So we are officially moving into our last section, Q&A section, and I'll be using my privilege as a host. And I want to ask, before I ask others questions, I want to ask this question, I guess. So today, May is the Mental Health Awareness Month, and now it's the 20th of May, so it's the last day of the Mental Health Awareness Celebration Week, and we are having this conversation to promote mental health awareness further. We are talking about how to take care of our mental health, right, on a daily basis, and talking about tips and strategies. Why do we do this?
Why do we do this? Because we care about it, you and me, for sure. But because there's a lack of understanding and there's lack of information. And I honestly think that we are not respected in our mental health. I think that physical health has taken space in history, in science, and mental health is that thing that nobody wants to know about. The thing that always happens to somebody else. When actually we all have mental health. There's no such thing as, ill and healthy. We're always in this transition. We're moving from one side to the other. So mental health affects everybody. We all have mental health. We all have to look after it. And when our mental health is not well, we're not well, because mental health is our health. Again, it's as important as our body. So we want to raise awareness. I was reading the other day, actually, that when it comes to funding and budgeting in health, everything goes to the doctors, anything that has to do with the body. And there's very little money for what it is mental health, for our professionals, for research, for clinics. So we want to raise awareness on how important it is. Again, the most basic thing we have is our health, and mental health is a big part of that health.
Absolutely. Thank you, Natalia, for your answer. So now let's go to some of the questions that our viewers asked. We got some comments. I was also forwarded all the possible DMs that we received. I'm going to go in more or less chronological order. So we got a question that goes like this: how effective is meditation overcoming in overcoming everyday stress, and if it actually is, where to start?
Of course, it's great. It's fantastic. I cannot tell you the amount of research. So if there's effective, I'm saying yes, absolutely. Where to start? There's plenty of information online. So you can always go on YouTube, find something that you feel comfortable with. You can start with the most basic thing, as we said, just breathing. You can get a book. Again, it's very basic, but I think that is worth having a try. I always have people that look at me a bit funny, like, does that work with stress? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So I would absolutely recommend mindfulness and breathing techniques and meditation to people. Of course, some people might love it, some people might not really engage with it, but I think it's worth trying. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and if I may add to that, I would say to this person, start today, even right now, maybe after this whole talk, let's start today, because there's never a right moment, right? We create the right moment. So another question we got is really interesting. I'm checking them. Somebody goes, it goes like this: cost of living crisis hits everyone every day, becoming a major concern, increasing stress and anxiety. What are some practical steps to deal with that?
I get that so much, and I wish I had an answer. One important thing for me to say today is that if you have financial difficulties and you feel stressed, yes, you have the right to be stressed. I don't want people to feel bad because they're stressed because they can't pay the bills. Of course, they're going to be stressed because it's a very difficult situation. So it's not about don't be stressed. It's about how do I manage this stress, because you have all the right to be stressed. It's really difficult when you don't know if you will be able to pay your bills, if you'll be able to have a roof over your head or eat or feed your kids. So I want to normalize stress in those situations. It doesn't make you someone with a mental health problem. No, you're completely normal, because it's normal to feel stress under stressful situations. So how do we manage that? I'll say you want to ask support, but to the government, well, if you can, practical things. Therapy won't do much there, to manage stress, but you want to find things that will help you with your particular and practical situation. I don't know what country you live in, but you want to go to your local authority, ask for support, see what help is available. And again, all the things that we talked about, as much as you can do it, talking to someone about how you feel, looking after your physical health, all the things that we said already, just to manage stress. But you have all the right to be stressed. I wish I had a solution for that. Unfortunately, I don't. And it's a horrible thing because a lot of people are experiencing it at the moment. And working in charities, what I do when I see this, I signpost them to food banks, to the local authority, to social workers. So we do practical things because I can tell them, breathe, but that's not a solution, right? So they need practical help. So that's what I do. I signpost them, and then we talk. We talk about what's happening. And I'm really sorry for people who are going through that at the moment.
Thank you. Let's move forward to another question. So a person asked, how can how can I be in touch with my feelings and family?
How can you?
How can I be in touch with my feelings and family?
How can I be in touch with my feelings and family? With your feelings, I think, as I said, I think that some people are scared of their feelings, and that's why they're scared of going into that place that can be very dark sometimes. Mindfulness again. Dedicate time in your day to be with you. Sometimes it can help to write how you feel and to have some questions that can prompt the answers. So there are really nice books that you can buy online. And also, I don't know if you've seen the Feelings Wheel. Have you seen them? So they're like, even online, you can download it, or you can see the draw. It has like 45 up to 60 feelings. So it says overwhelmed, anxious, distressed, disappointed, excited, furious, and it helps to go through them. I find that maybe young people or people who were never educated in terms of feelings find this very helpful, to look at the list of feelings and go one by one. Am I feeling like this, or am I feeling like that, or am I feeling all of these things? So if you can download that, the feelings wheel or the feelings list, that can be very helpful. And dedicate the time. Say, okay, I'm going to dedicate 15 minutes to see how I'm feeling. And don't be scared of it. It can be scary, but nothing will happen. And something that can feel containing is to write your feelings on paper if you're alone. Because if it feels overwhelming, you can always close the paper, put it in a drawer, and move on. With your family, how to be in touch with your family. Again, it depends who your family is, what the relationship is. But I guess that when you are in touch with your feelings and who you are and how you feel, that always helps to have a better relationship with, even with your partner, friends, family. So if you do the work on you, that will open the doors to have better relationships, even with your family. But I can't talk about them because I don't know them.
Yeah. Well, I am being a bit mindful of time. I don't want to take too much time from you. We're going to go with another 3 questions, and then we will wrap it up for today. There's a question that asks what role our habits play in maintaining a good mental health in every day.
Massive. Everything. Your habits are everything. Have you read that book, Atomic Habit? Atomic Habit?
I personally did an audiobook as well.
Yes. Yes, everything you do it adds up. All the little things you do, the bad and the good ones, everything you do will determine the quality of your life and who you are. So, as I said, if you pay attention from the moment you wake up in the morning, what time you wake up, what you eat, what you drink, what do? You open your eyes and you look at your phone? That doesn't sound very healthy. All these little habits will determine the outcome at the end of the day of how you feel and the kind of person you are. Do you dedicate time to your family every day? Yes, no. And then if you feel lonely and disconnected before you go to sleep, and then you look at your day and you haven't spoken to anybody the whole day, of course you'll feel lonely and disconnected. Of course, because you haven't had the time, you didn't dedicate the time to this very important thing for your mental health, which is talking to people. A lot of people that work from home now, or even study from home, don't interact with anybody. That's that's a risk factor for your mental health if you don't interact with people. So of course, all the little habits will determine how you feel in your life in general. So pay attention to them.
You have habits. Remember, because you mentioned Atomic Habits, my favorite one is The Power of Habits. It's much older book, and it more academic because there's some research information, but I would definitely agree that habits play an enormous role in our life. And on notes, let's move to the next question and see. Okay, so it's a bit lengthy one. Suicide is a rising concern and a serious mental health issue all over the world. How can we support those who are at the higher risk of taking their lives in day-to-day communication and support?
In day-to-day communication, that would be.
I'm not sure, but I can go once more. Do you want me to repeat the question? The suicide, I guess it's like statement slash a question. So it's suicide is a raising concern and a serious mental health issue all over the world, which is true, unfortunately. How can we support those who are at the higher risk of taking their lives in day-to-day communication and support? I guess everyday communication and support.
Yes. So what we do as mental health professionals with people who are at risk of suicide is to do a risk assessment. So the best thing that you can do when someone is suicidal is to talk about it. Something that most people run away from because it's scary, and people think this myth that if we talk about suicide, it'll make him feel like he wants to do it, or I'll push him to do it. And it's quite the opposite. When people talk, they do less. So you want to talk about, okay, how are you feeling? Okay, you feel like you want to kill yourself. Okay, when, how does it make you feel? Or is it at night most of the time? Is it around the time of Christmas or around an anniversary or whatever? So you want to be talking about it. That's the best thing to help someone who is suicidal. And also to have a safety plan. So what happens if you feel suicidal? And you write a list with your loved one. You can say you can call this person, you can go to this place, so the person knows what to do in case that happens. So the best way to support someone that is suicidal is to talk about it. Don't be scared. You're actually helping. Nothing will happen. So if the person wants to do something, they'll do it. But talking about it won't make it worse. So it's okay to talk about it. It's actually quite relieving when people can share how they feel, because there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of, pointing at people when they feel like this. That's why we say commit suicide as if it was a crime, and it's not a crime. Okay, so it lessens that pressure when you're actually opening up and say that it's okay, I understand. You can talk about that to me. So that's very helpful. And the second thing is to do a risk assessment. A professional can do that. How high is the risk? And a safety plan. So you write down, what do we do in this situation? What helps? Sometimes a person might say, okay, when I feel suicidal, sometimes this song cheers me up, or looking through photos makes me feel better, or I can call this friend, this friend, this friend. So the person knows what to do when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I want to emphasize, at least for me, it's the fact, the language that we use. We still say committed suicide.
Absolutely.
Yes. But we don't say commit something when we talk about physical condition, yet it can be the same level of difficulty, challenge, and suffering.
Yeah, there's a lot of shame around having these feelings, right? And judgment and lack of understanding. So if we want to really help people, it's being there, as I said, really being there without judging, without criticizing, without making feel the other person uncomfortable, awkward. I know it can be, because it's a delicate subject. That's why a mental health professional is really the best person to deal with something like this. Because if you're not trained, this can affect you as well. If you're a family member or a friend, if you know that someone is having these thoughts, it can make you feel uncomfortable, uneasy, worried. So the best thing to do is to refer this friend or family member to a professional who will do, again, a risk assessment and a safety plan, and a therapy, of course.
Absolutely. Well, to our last question for today, because we don't want to go too much over the time. And I guess it's a really interesting that I picked this question, the last one to ask. How effective emotional support hotlines are?
Ooh, I like that one.
That's a good one.
Can I be honest? Can I be honest? You know what I did actually? I tried one because I was referring my students once they finished counseling with me. I work with teenagers in school. I was giving them call this, and I tried it myself, and it was a disaster, to be honest with you. I was thinking, if I'm a teenager needing help and this is what I get, I'll feel worse. Well, not all of them are bad. Some of them are really good. Some of them are. So it depends on the charity, the service. When they take too long to answer, I think that's awful, because someone is in distress. They take the courage to dial, and all of a sudden, that we didn't expect this amount of calls. We'll be with you shortly, and they have you 45 minutes on the phone, and that can be very distressing. But some of the charities are great, and they pick up the phone straight away. Samaritans here in the UK are great, and they train the people. They are real people behind the phone who are trained, very basic counseling skills, but quite effective. And they help a lot because they're open 24/7, especially around Christmas, difficult days for people that can feel very lonely. They are helpful and effective. I don't like the chats, to be honest, sometimes, because you can tell that they're machines. But well, it is what it is. It's difficult to generalize. Some of them are really good. Some of them are not so great. But when they're good, they're effective.
And just to add on that, if somebody asking this question is actually from Armenia, if you go to MHA.am, our official website, you can see that there are a couple of hotlines or support lines that you can contact to for different cases, whether it's an emergency we're talking about, or it is something more specific, such as domestic abuse or violence. So that might be a place to start. But I guess what Natalia is saying, and I think it's important to emphasize that it's important not to stop. If a service you're trying to reach is not good enough, maybe it's a good option to try another one, because maybe out of 10, one gonna turn out to be the right one. And of course, for somebody in a stress, it might be really daunting to think, oh, I have to call 10 different services. But unfortunately, the reality is that sometimes you do. And the good side of it is that once you did, and then you got your maybe fifth or the ninth one, you can already receive the support you need. But also, actually, if somebody around you goes like, oh, I need a support or whatever, we can be like, yeah, sure, go call them or chat that with them, because you yourself had an experience. So I guess this is an important aspect when we talk about mental health, because every change, small or big, begins with us.
Yeah.
And the communal change and support starts with us, right?
Yes.
So, well, we are coming to the end of our session. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, you're here with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. So I want to thank you for this amazing session. It was really, really interesting and informative. And for those of you who are still connected, this session recording will be available soon on our website at mha.am, together with other recordings. And we will see you next time. I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.